So this is 4.1b as in boy, elementary algebra, and we are going to do some examples here on multiplication with exponents. Now when we have something like 5x and we have a squared, that means again everything inside gets squared individually, so the numbers and then the letters, and you get that. So what happens if we have a 2xy, and that's to the cube power, or to the third power? In fact, let's leave that. That's going to be 2 cubed, x cubed, y cubed, and 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and we end up with an answer like that. Alright, what if we have 3x squared cubed? Okay, that means we cube the 3, and that's 27. But what do we do here? We've got an x squared cubed. So remember, when they're separated by parenthesis, you multiply and you get 27x to the 6th. Alright, if we have something like negative 1/4 x squared y cubed, then let's just be really evil and square that. Alright, we look at each one of these at a time. We have negative 1/4, and we're going to square that. Notice we're squaring the negative because it's inside that parenthesis there. Then we have x that we're going to square. So this and this separated by a parenthesis, so that's going to be a 4. And then we've got the y separated by a parenthesis again, so it's going to be 3 times 2 is 6. Alright, so what do we do with this? Well, when we have 1/4 squared, that's the same as the top being squared and the bottom being squared, which is going to be a negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 4 is 16. So that number will replace that there. So our answer will be 1/16 x to the 4th y to the 6th. Okay, let's look at another one. X to the 4th, and we'll cube it. Oh, that doesn't look like a cube, does it? That's a little better. And then we're going to take x squared, taking that to the 5th power. Okay, what are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to take our first number. That even made it worse. Sorry, that doesn't look very much like a 3. There. Is we have x to the 4th cubed. So that's going to be x to the 12th, right? You multiply those, they're separated by a parenthesis. Multiply those, separated by a parenthesis. Okay, so we get that. Oh goodness, now what do we do? Because there's a multiplication. When exponents are multiplied and the exponents are on the same level, they're not separated by a parenthesis, this is old stuff, you add the exponents. And we get x to the 22. Alright, if we have 2y, and we cube it, and then we have 3y squared, what are we going to do with that? We're going to cube the 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. We're going to cube the y. That takes care of that one. And on the next one, we're not going to do anything with that because that's just 3y squared. There's no exponent or anything we can do there. And I've got that. Alright, so what do I do with that? Alright, this multiplication sign means I multiply. So 8 times 3 is 24. Y, remember when you multiply with exponents and they're not separated by a parenthesis, you add the exponents. And you're done. Alright, one more here. Okay, this one looks a little bit trickier, but if you just do one step at a time, you'll find out that it's not too bad. So we're going to do this stuff here. So we're going to cube the 2, the x squared, and the x to the 5th power. So we're going to do each of those. So 2 cubed is 8. X squared cubed, because there's parentheses separating, we multiply, and we do the same with the y. Alright, now let's look at the next one. We have 3, and that's squared. We have x to the 4th squared, so again separated by a parenthesis. And then we have a y, which is actually a 1, an assumed 1 there. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, now let's put this stuff here together. Alright, we have an 8 times 9, which is 72, so we're done with those. X to the 6th times x to the 8th. Remember, you can only combine common variables or when you multiply like this. So x to the 6 plus 8, and then we do the same thing with the y to the 15 plus 2, and we're done there. So this next section is on scientific notation, and it's good for you to be familiar with this. It's just a shortcut method to write big numbers or little itsy bitsy numbers so that they're understandable. So if we take 5 gazillion, I have no idea what number this is until I get it all written out here. Okay, so that's million, that's trillion. 5,880,000,000,000 miles. Alright, so obviously most of us don't travel that distance, so we don't use numbers like that, but there is a quick and easy way to write this. And the way that works is you write the first number, the very first number, and that is it. Then you put a decimal, and then you put the next 2 numbers, okay, and then you write a times sign, and then you make the number 10, and then we will count how many zeros it took to get from here. The decimal is actually there, right? So what we're doing is we're counting how far this decimal moved to get all the way over there. And it always goes just to the right of the very first number. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that 12 goes right there. That just means that this decimal here is in the wrong place. And if we put it in the right place, we have to go 12 points all the way to the end there. So what we'll start doing is once you run out of numbers like the 8 and the 8, then you just start tagging zeros on until you can move that decimal 12 points over. So in example 17, they have the number 376,000. Okay, so here you go. First number, decimal. Second, third number, times, always a 10. And then you count how far we went from here to get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that ends up being your exponent. Okay? So, one of the things that they're going to do is they're not only going to ask you to be able to do that, they're also going to ask you to be able to go the other way as well. So that's called scientific notation. The original number is called expanded. So if I give you 4.52 times 10 to the third, and I ask you to write that in expanded form, you're going to take the decimal and move it back where it's supposed to go. And it's supposed to go 3 decimal places to the right of where it is there. So it would be 4, 5. What I like to do is I just add a bunch of zeros here just so I can kind of get an idea of where it goes. So it starts here, and this 3 says I have to go 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's where the decimal needs to go. Right there. And I can cross those out then now that I'm done. So 4,520. Alright, so that is lesson 4.1 in elementary algebra.